Hi everyone, welcome back to Pages of the Globe. Today I'm going to be reading to you the poem To One in Paradise by Edgar Allan Poe. So I will be continuing our series of reading poems by Edgar Allan Poe and then kind of giving you an in-depth review about them. So this is our 5th segment in this series. I'm so excited. Like always, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the author, Poe, and then we're going to jump straight into the poem and then the analysis. Now, if you have already watched, like I always say, any of my other videos about whether I'm reading a story by Edgar Allan Poe or a poem by Edgar Allan Poe, then feel free to skip this part where I just talk about him, because I do just repeat the same bio. If you want a more in-depth kind of bio about him, though, then feel free to watch one of my old videos, like The Raven or The Telltale Heart, which are also by him, but in that I just give you like a way more in-depth bio about him. So he was born on January 9th, 1809, and he died on October 7th, 1849. He was an American writer, poet, editor, and literary critic who is best known for his poetry and short stories, particularly his tales of mystery and the macabre. He is widely regarded as a central figure of Romanticism in the United States and of American literature. He was one of the country's earliest practitioners of the short story and is considered the inventor of the detective fiction genre, as well as a significant contributor to the emerging genre of science fiction. He is the first well-known American writer to earn a living through writing alone, resulting in a pretty poor, financially difficult career and life. Like always, feel free to comment down below what other poems you would like me to read or stories. And yeah, remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which story you would like me to read next. To One in Paradise by Edgar Allan Poe. Thou wast that all to me, love for which my soul did pine, a green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last, ah, starry hope, that didst rise but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies. Mute, motionless, aghast, for alas, alas with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea. To the sands upon the shore shall boom the thunder-blasted tree. Or the stricken eagle soar, and all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams, and where thy grey glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. Alright, so that was To One in Paradise by Edgar Allan Poe. Like always, now that we've read the story, we're just going to jump straight into the analysis. So To One in Paradise describes one speaker's deep depression and now dull prospects over the loss of his dearest friend and lover. So this is a 4-stanza poem that is separated into sets of 6 or 7 lines. The first and last stanzas of this piece contain 6 lines, while the middle 2 contain 7. The poem also follows a particular rhyme scheme that follows the variable pattern of ABA, BCB, DED, EDE, FGG, FGFG, HI. While there is a structure to the rhyme scheme, it doesn't remain the same throughout any of the stanzas, and it generally follows every other line, song-like meter, but its adherence is not strict. And Poe has chosen to kind of swap out lines and rearrange words where necessary. So, as for the summary of this poem, it begins with the speaker describing the love that he once had for this person. She was everything to him and the only source of light in his life. She provided him with a place of refuge, a green isle on which he could live in beauty away from the realities of life. As the title states, this woman has passed on. She is no longer in his world, and now everything is bleak, endless, and unchanging. He sees no reason to continue on with his life at first. His love was too bright to last and now has burnt out. He compares himself to a burnt tree or an injured eagle. There might have been hope for one like him in the past, but no longer. He will never be happy again, just as the burnt tree will not bloom nor the eagle will fly. The poem concludes with the speaker stating that in his dreams he is able to find some sort of peace. She comes to him while he sleeps, and they return to their world of eternal streams and ethereal dances. This is just his only reason for continuing on. Now, we're going to jump straight into the true analysis. In case you've never been to, or you haven't watched any of my previous Edgar Allan Poe poem series, what I really like to do is I like to do a full in-depth analysis of each stanza. So there are, in this case, I believe, 4 stanzas of this poem. So I'll be giving you a pretty in-depth analysis of all. If the poem was super long, for example, The Raven, then I would just choose whichever stanzas I think are the most important or where there are turning points, and that's the ones I would analyze. So in stanza 1, thou waste that all to me love, for which my soul did pine, a green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers mine. So it begins with the speaker that's kind of directing his words towards the subject and the single intended listener of To One in Paradise. The person to whom the title refers, the one who is in paradise, before even starting the poem, the reader will already have an idea of what it's going to be about due to the suggestive nature of the title. Paradise is a clear reference to heaven, and the one is most likely going to be a lost loved one, someone that was close to the speaker and has passed on. In the first line, the speaker addresses his love and telling her that she is all to him. She was all that mattered to him in the world, and the only thing for which my soul did pine. There was nothing else that could control the speaker as she did, and no other that tempted his heart. The 4 following lines of this stanza compare the love for the lost one to the presence of an island in the sea, and his love has just provided him with a place of beauty to rest that is covered or reached. The speaker was not an onlooker on someone else's love or a visitor to the island. He was integral in its construction. Then we get to stanza 2. Stanza 2 takes the reader back to the reality of the situation. One must remember, as the speaker now does, that this dream is lost. The love about which the speaker is referring to no longer exists. He begins the second stanza by saying that the dream, which was the island, was too bright to last, burned too brightly, too beautifully, and fizzled out into the reality of life. At this point, it's clear that this change of circumstances feels quite unfair to the speaker, but also as if it was kind of the only suitable ending to the story. Once more, the final 4 lines of this section add additional detail to the situation and context to the speaker's emotions. He imagines a voice coming from the future crying out to him to carry on with his life and move past the loss. It's not easy for him, though, as the past is also present. It's a quote-unquote gulf in his mind, and into which he cannot escape and continually falls further into. It is a place that his spirit hovers, and while there, he is mute, motionless, and aghast at the world. Next up, we have stanza 3, where the speaker has now moved into a mental space that is completely consumed by mourning. He is unable to shake off what has happened, move on with his life, and search for happiness once more. The depth of his despair is clearly stated at the beginning of the 3rd stanza. He says, "Alas, alas, his life is over. There is nothing he thinks for him to live for. There is no light within his mind, and his thoughts come like depressive waves on the shore. The constant repetition of no more, no more, no more is compared to the tides impacting the sand of a beach. It is endless without fault. The lines continue on past the parentheses to describe the fact that never again shall the thunder-blasted tree bloom or the stricken eagle soar. He is complaining himself to injured elements of the earth that might once have had a chance of recovery but no longer do. This burnt tree will never grow again, nor will the hurt eagle fly, just as he will never live to see the light or happiness ever again." In the final stanza, the speaker comes to the end of his lines of mourning. He reaches kind of a conclusion, but one that is perpetually dark and unchanging. He describes the days of his lives as being trances, and he moves through them without engaging with the world or truly experiencing anything. In contrast, his nights are much more interesting. While sleeping, he is able to have nightly dreams in which his gray, depressed eye glances. It is in this place of imagining that he hears his love footsteps gleaming. He is able to see and interact with her in his mind. During this time, his dreams are the only place of refuge left to the speaker. It is here amongst the ethereal dreams and eternal streams that he can actually find peace. Now, that's it for today's analysis. Remember to, like always, please comment down below which poem or short story you would like to read next. This was the 5th segment in our series of Edgar Allan Poe poems, and yeah. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like for me to read next.